Thank you for being here today to participate in this conference. And I also want to thank the local unions and the councils you represent for their continued participation in these important funds. These two funds, the Health and Safety Fund and the Apprenticeship and Training Fund, have played a key role in meeting the needs of our membership. And the service they deliver will play an even more important part as we move forward with the work we started more than a year ago, the work of rebuilding our union. And while the work performed by these funds in Washington is necessary, it's the work that you do, training carpenters. That's the most important. You give our members the training they need to see and avoid dangers and to take care of themselves on a job site that is dangerous in the best of conditions. Giving carpenters the skills they need to build a decent life for themselves is and must always be the very heart of our mission as a union. At our convention, we agreed to build a union that every working carpenter would be proud to belong to. And since then, we've been working with locals and councils where there's either been the greatest need for change or the greatest opportunity for progress. And we have begun to restructure and rebuild our union. We've merged local unions, combined councils to consolidate our strength. We cut overhead and put our resources where they belong, in the field, organizing carpenters. And while we were working with individual locals and councils, we also had to be sure that we didn't waste time and money making changes just for the sake of change. We have investigated, reviewed, and reconsidered every program and every function of this union. From the printing plant at the general office to how we use our field staff, we've had to make some very tough calls to get us started. And in some places, like the New York City District Council, we had to step in and place locals and the council under long-term supervision to clean up some long-standing problems. But it's important to know that in other areas, like Nevada and New England, we're working hand in hand with the leadership. And the reason that we've gone forward is because every one of us, from the general officers and the board members to each of you, has made a commitment to do what it takes to build a union that puts the needs of the membership first. If we are to succeed, it has to be that way. And let's be clear, we're doing what makes sense and what works. One of the councils we restructured was Michigan. And it's no secret that a lot of people weren't too happy with that decision. But let's look at what happened. We've gone from 3 district councils and 27 different local unions to 1 full-service council with 10 locals. That's 17 fewer offices, less overhead, and less duplication. Instead, we put those resources into organizing. The council added 10 new organizers and trained their business agents to support that effort. Since last May, they brought in 77 new contractors and 1,500 new members. And just as important, some of the success has been in the residential market, a market we lost years ago. In Michigan, every apprentice goes through COMET training. So the bright young carpenters out there understand that organizing is about protecting their jobs. So they tell their friends that being in the union is the way to go. With the mergers, the Michigan Council has also improved the insurance plan for members and hiked pension benefits for their retirees. Restructuring may not have been popular to begin with in Michigan, but it is now. 63 of the 66 delegates, members elected, are strong supporters of organizing and restructuring because that is what works. Now, if we are to succeed, if we are to rebuild, we have to be willing to make real changes. We have to be willing to do what works. Most of you in this room have been around long enough to know that we talked a better game than we played. For years, we talked about organizing. We talked about being more effective in the market. And we talked about being more of a player in the industry. We talked about it, but we didn't do it. We said, everyone's an organizer, but we didn't go out and organize. Too often, we weren't willing to make the changes, the choices, or the sacrifice a program like this needs to succeed. I'm not sure that this brotherhood has ever really stopped to look at what we were trying to deal with before now. Yes, we talked about organizing and stopping the non-union from taking away our work, but were we serious? Did we really walk the walk or just talk the talk? Let me ask you a question. In all the years you've been active in this brotherhood, who got the job of organizer? The new guy, that's who. And his place in the local pecking order was made very clear. It was at the bottom. And that guy figured out real fast that the place he wanted to be was with the business agents. More money, more respect, and mostly less shit work. And that's assuming the local thought it was worth having an organizer at all. What's different this time? This time we're playing by new rules. For too long we stuck by the old models and the old tactics. We refused to recognize the changes that had overtaken our industry. Or if we did, we tried to deal with them through the old solutions. And more often than not, those old solutions didn't work. A good example is the way we dealt with the regionalization of work. Contractors stopped doing all their work in a single town or a county and had to travel further and further to get jobs. Did we try to keep pace with that change in the market? No. While the market became regional, we stayed local. Smaller district councils with a limited view of the market. Our contractors couldn't survive that way, and neither will we. Our members will survive, but it'll be just that, survival. Because if we aren't successful, if we don't rebuild this union, there isn't going to be anyone to stand up for those members. I don't intend to let that happen on my watch, and neither does Doug Baines or Andy Sillins or the board members. We're doing what needs to be done, working with local leadership and getting us on the right track. From the general office to the field, we're restructuring. And we're taking the situations as we find them, not as we'd like them to be, and making decisions that need to be made. First, we're going to organize. Now, make no mistake about that. But let's be clear about what organizing means. It's not enough to go into a boom town like Las Vegas and sign up carpenters. It doesn't matter if you're bringing in 10, 50, 100 new carpenters a month, if they're going to haul ass when the job's done. Taking in new members doesn't necessarily mean organizing. If we don't sign up new contractors, if we don't expand our share of the market and open new markets, we're not organizing. So what do? We educate, we agitate, and we organize. But first, we have to understand the real goal of organizing. Control the market. If we're going to set standards, we need to control at least 65 or 70% of the market. Now, let's see what that means. How many of you come from areas where you control 70% of the market? I want to see your hands. How many of you control 70% of the heavy commercial work? Raise your hand. 70% of the light commercial work. See your hands. 70% of the residential work. How many of you had your hands up the entire time? My point is this. If you don't have 70%, you don't have the market. We need to go back to a time when we set the standards on every job. In the 70s, we controlled the market. That was when being a union carpenter meant a good job and a secure future. When a union carpenter knew he could take good care of his family. We can have that again if we take back the market. And that takes organizing. It starts when you go out on the job talking to non-union carpenters. It starts when you make house calls and explain to a carpenter and his family what's at stake. It's hard, tough work. It means going out on the job, talking to carpenters who may not want to hear about the union. It means salting jobs. It means job site actions. It means working late and early. And there's no substitute. We can sit around all day in meetings. We can talk to the contractors we still have signed. We can talk to the developers and we can talk to the politicians. But that won't organize one carpenter. Unless we're talking to them, we're not doing our job. We need to explain what it means to be part of a union, what it means to stick together to set a standard, and what it means to believe that your sweat and your labor is worth more than just enough to get by on. For the work we do, we deserve a share of the wealth that we create. We need to teach members what it means to be part of a union. We also need to bring carpenters we organize into the programs and the training programs that you represent. We need to be sure every carpenter gets the skills they need. We owe it to our members and our contractors to be sure when we send someone out to a job that that man is qualified. Providing skills and training, the work that you do best, is critical to rebuilding our union. We've always talked about training, but this time we're doing things differently. This time we're not working in the dark. To be sure that we focused on the right concerns, we hired a research firm, Worthland Worldwide. They talked to union and non-union carpenters, to union and non-union contractors. In all, we talked to over 1,700 carpenters and about 700 contractors. It's no surprise that wages and benefits were the top issue on everybody's mind. But you know what the biggest area of need was? Training. And how do we rate? Here's what our research showed. With 250 training centers nationwide and a combined annual budget of $100 million, you reach 60% of our members with training. 44% of them have completed a full apprenticeship program, and another third came back to upgrade their skills. Just as important, 8 out of 10 non-union carpenters said they were interested in additional training. Think about those numbers. Better than 3/4 of the people that we need to talk to, non-union carpenters, want programs that you offer. And how about the contractors? They know the industry has a problem, a shortage of skilled workers. The need for training is at the top of everybody's list. Listen to this. This is a report from a group of non-union contractors, including Brown and Root. Wage erosion has become increasingly worse over the past decade and is causing substandard living conditions. Combined with the fact that craftsmen are treated as expendable commodities, woefully inadequate training opportunities over the years, and alternative service sector jobs which are now available at competitive wage rates with superior benefits. It's easy to understand why large numbers of people aren't knocking on the industry's door. And what does the Brown and Root study say should be done? A refocused effort should be made to train and develop both craftsmen and frontline supervision. Now, our study also looked at the industry, and here's what the contractors told us about training. 75% of the union contractors rated our skills better, and 3/4 of them said it's always been that way. Even more important, 1 out of 3 non-union contractors rated our skills higher, and 2/3 of them agree that it's always been that way. At a recent panel discussion, even Ted Kennedy of BE&K agreed with me, the industry's in a mess. Why? We all know the answer. They've counted on the carpenters that you've trained to run their jobs. And as those craftsmen retire and conditions in the industry worsen, they can't replace them because there's nothing to offer. There's no money, no benefits, no training, no future, nothing. Finally, the industry itself is beginning to recognize the problem. They've got a problem, and we've got the answer. But this time, we're not shooting from the hip. We've done the research, and here's what we've learned. Here's what the contractors, union and non-union, listed as their top priorities. Certify in more than one carpentry skill. Train members in other carpentry skills. Certify beyond journeyman status. Continued upgrading and testing. Mandatory recertification. If we can meet these concerns, we can reorganize the industry and take control of the market. The scaffold training course that these funds put together is the kind of program that I'm talking about. First, it offers members hands-on training. It will make our jobs safer. It also gives our contractors a competitive edge. And that means jobs for our members. While the rest of the industry scrambles to comply with safety regulations, our contractors already have a recognized training program and skilled craftsmen to do the work. That's the kind of program that makes sense. It serves the membership and the industry. Organizing, training, and service. Those 3 things are the foundation of this union. We have to organize, we have to train, and we have to provide real service to the members. We have to build a structure that works on a day-to-day basis. It has to represent all the members, not the leadership. It has to be effective at representing carpenters. It has to make union employees accountable for the job they do. I'll be very blunt. Too often, union politics and a comfortable job, not the interest of the members, have guided decision making. That's over. Just like any working carpenter, working with his tools, union employees have to be accountable for the job they do. At the same time, council officials need the authority to do the job they're elected to do. There's never as much chaos on a job site as when the boss doesn't have the authority to make a decision. Everybody's doing it their own way and nothing's getting done. That's exactly where we've been as a union and as a labor movement. And you know what the result of that is. Fewer jobs, fewer members, less power at the bargaining table. Before long, your members are sitting on the bench, struggling to hold on to their benefits. We can't let that happen. The members can't afford it. We're going to build a structure that puts their needs first. Let me be absolutely clear. I'm not going to take anybody's democratic rights away. We're going to build a structure that works, a form of representative democracy. Locals elect council delegates based upon an agreed-upon formula. Those get delegates, including rank-and-file carpenters, will review local operations and elect council leaders. In turn, council leaders will have the authority to hire and fire, give agents and organizers the work to do, and supervise how well they do it. Once a decision is made with input from the members and the delegates, everybody will be expected to pull in the same direction. I'll tell you something. When I was first elected business agent, they handed me a copy of the collective bargaining agreement, the keys to the hall, and said, "Good luck, buddy. You're on your own." That's got to stop. We all have to be accountable for the job that we do. But every staff member deserves the training they need to do the job well. To see it gets done, we've hired a training director to work with Bobby Yagi and the organizing department. They're developing a comprehensive training program for everybody who works for the union. From organizer to business agent. That program will be ready about the end of this year. Here's some of what it'll include. A 2-week basic training course for every new union staff member. Training that explains the union structure and the role each of us has to play, with the emphasis on the organizing program we're developing. We're also developing a version of the program for experienced staff. We're also going to have an organizing internship program. New organizers will have a chance to build their skills in the field with experienced organizers and trainers. Building on our strength, using what works, throwing out what doesn't. That's how we build a union that puts the needs of carpenters first. One that represents all carpenters, not just a chosen few. I said earlier that organizing is more than just signing up new members in a boom town like Las Vegas. Here's what else we're doing there. Since we restructured the council, we've increased the membership by 1,300 members net. That doesn't count the other 1,600 travelers working in the city. For the first time, we have contracts with 3 mill cabinet shops, and we're in negotiations with a 4th. For the first time in 10 years, we've got a maintenance contract with 3 big hotels, and here too, we're in negotiations with a 4th. Some of those members covered by those contracts hadn't had a negotiated increase in 10 years. The average pay hike in the new contract is $2.50 an hour. We've eliminated the B hiring list. So when you come into the union, you've got a fair shot at a job. We're helping new members upgrade their skills by bringing them into our training programs. And we're holding meetings in Spanish and English. How's it working? According to the Wall Street Journal, one of our biggest non-union targets, Precision Concrete, said that our organizing has cost him over $1 million in increased pay and benefits. We may not have signed him yet, but the point is, he's given raises. We're changing the market. Finally, I think it's important to note the Las Vegas campaign is being run without financial support from the international or the building trades. They're doing it themselves. And they're able to do it because we've taken the local politics out of it. Instead of fighting over turf, they're working together. They're also working smarter. Without the turf wars, they're policing the union jobs with 4 business agents and 50 well-trained stewards. That means resources are free to go to organizing, expanding our market base, and protecting everybody's job. That's what restructuring is about. A little more than a year ago, we made a commitment to build a union that puts the needs of working carpenters first. I intend to keep that commitment. And to do that, we have to do three things. We have to organize, we have to train, and we have to serve the members. Organizing, training, service. That's the foundation on which we rebuild this union. It's how we build a union that you're proud to be a part of. It's how we build a union that every carpenter wants to belong to. And it's how we build a union that has the strength and the power to stand up again for the rights of carpenters. This is how it starts. We have to be willing to stand up. We have to be willing to organize. We have to be willing to train. We have to be willing to put the members first in every decision we make. We started that commitment a year ago, and you can be proud of the work you've done. I am. Thank you.